Test 1 2. Test 1 2. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Preston Sports Podcast. Coming at you today on Wednesday. It is going to be the 1st of September. New month, new me, new podcast. Everyone knows what's up. I'm going to do something a little different than I have been doing recently today. But before I do that, before I let you know what I'm going to be doing, make sure you like, subscribe, boop the notification bell, and comment down below your thoughts. I'm going to be talking purely about Browns football. I don't do this an incredible amount. I do it occasionally. I would like to maybe do it more if I start uploading more. I probably wouldn't normally do it on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I would probably do it on the weekend. I don't know, maybe like Saturday, pre-game day, or Sunday morning. I'm busy Sunday mornings. But you know what I'm saying, just talking about Browns more because, I love football, but if I had to only watch one team every week, it would be the Browns. So, let's just hop right into it. Yesterday, Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, was the deadline for your initial 53-man roster, so you had to cut anyone who's not going to be in your 53. And the Browns did some interesting things. One interesting thing, it doesn't have to do with the Browns. Well, it does. The Detroit Lions are the only other team to go 0-16. John Dorsey, former GM of the Browns, is an associate with the Lions now. So it has to do with the Browns. But they cut both Randy Bullock and Zane Gonzalez, two kickers. They cut both of them. So they didn't have a kicker on their 53-man roster because they knew, you could still get a good kicker in free agency. It's not like you're not going to get a top 10 or top 15, but you can definitely get a solid kicker in free agency either way. The odds of them both going are kind of low, so you can get one of them back. So cut both of them, make room elsewhere, and then you can move guys to IR or do whatever you want to do with them, put them on the PUP list. I don't know, but I just thought that was a funny thing that the Lions did. Anyways, so it's the Browns. They did a couple interesting things. One of the interesting things to me is they kept four running backs. Four running backs and a fullback, mind you. So normally what you see a lot of the time is you'll see teams keep three running backs. Even it could be two running backs and a fullback, or three running backs and a fullback, But so with that, you have five quote-unquote running back type players. You have five H-back players. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, D'Ernest Johnson, who is someone I really did want to make the roster. I really like his ability as a third running back. And then Demetric Felton was a 6th-round pick this past draft out of UCLA, played running back and wide receiver in college, has been starting to work on punt and kick returning for the Cleveland Browns, as well as playing other special teams roles among punt coverage, playing gunner, a bunch of other stuff. So they're using him in a lot of ways. So there wouldn't be a good reason to cut him, and if you cut him, you're not going to get him. So in case you don't know, I guess this is important to explain. Teams had about 80-ish players, or some team. It ranged with teams, but to get to a 53-man, you have to cut everyone else. Now, what happens is there's this thing called the waiver wire, and what the waiver wire is basically I think right now it's based off of last year's record. So it's worst team has first pick, or there's a certain way they determine who gets first pick. And so say who had the first pick, the Jags. So say the Browns cut John Kelly, he's a running back. Say the Browns cut John Kelly. How it would work is the Jags would have first dibs. Jags, do you want John Kelly? Jags say no, goes to the next team who had the second overall pick. The Jets, do you want John Kelly? No. Whoever had the third worst record, fourth, so on and so forth, if that makes sense. That's how the waiver wire works. But then, say a player clears waiver wire, then they just head into regular free agency where they can be signed to the practice squad. So you can cut a player off your final 53, or you can cut a player to get to your final 53 that you still want to keep. So the reason why I say that is Demetric Felton, you might have wanted to cut him and bring him back on the practice squad, but based off of what he's shown in the preseason, he wouldn't have cleared the waiver wire. So there's my little explanation about the waiver wire works. Wide receiver, another thing they did, and I imagine this is because of Demetric Felton and his flexibility as a wide receiver. They only had 5 wide receivers. Normally you see 6, maybe 7 if it's a real pass-heavy team who uses a lot of 4 wide receiver sets. So it's Odell, Jarvis, Rashad Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Anthony Schwartz. None of those are real surprises. The real surprise out of this group is that Kaderil Hodge was cut. Now, that basically what that means is the Browns chose Davion Davis, a wide receiver who's shown really well in the preseason, over Kaderil Hodge. I personally don't like that decision, but it's a wide receiver 6 spot, first of all, and Kaderil Hodge carried a $2 million cap hit. Davion Davis doesn't, so it was really just a cap move. Hodge is a fan favorite. Love Kaderil. He's actually on the Lions now. He got picked up on the waiver wire by the Lions, so I hope he has a lot of success there. But yeah, so it's Demetric Felton. Davion Davis is actually on the suspended list right now, so he's not going to count towards the 53. He's suspended for the first 2 games of the season, and then after that he will hop on the 53-man roster. At tight end, down from 4 tight ends last year to 3 this year, just Austin Hooper, David Njoku, Harrison Bryant. Not really much to explain there. Austin Hooper was paid last offseason. Harrison Bryant, 4th-round pick of the team last year. And David Njoku, wow. Last year he seemed to have issues with the Browns. This year he's happy and he wants an extension in Cleveland. I don't know if that means he wants starter money, but he wants to be in Cleveland, which is good. As far as the offensive line goes, same thing here. Nothing really surprising. Jedrick Wills Jr., Joel Bitonio, J.C. Treader, Wyatt Teller, Jack Conklin. That's starting 5. And then the backups are Chris Hubbard, James Hudson, Nick Harris, Michael Dunn, and Blake Hance. Now, reading the name Blake Hance, there's something else I need to explain. There's IR, injury reserve. If you put a player on IR before the 53-man cut date, that player has to remain on IR for the entire season. Reason being, so they don't abuse that, put a player on IR that they don't want to hit the waiver wire, and they put him on IR so he doesn't hit free agency at any point, and then they get to keep him. So if they're on IR before, they have to stay on IR for the entire season. So, for example, the Browns, we had a linebacker, Jacob Phillips, who tore his bicep. Now, they said he's going to be out for a good part of the season, but he might be able to come back later in the season, probably more towards January. And if you're the Browns, you have the expectations that in mid to late January, hopefully early February, that you will be playing football. So you don't want to put Jacob Phillips on IR and have him out for the entire season when it's possible he could come back later. So you're going to keep him on the roster and then move him to IR, which will open up a roster spot. So the Browns will do that with Blake Hance. Blake Hance needs to be on IR. So he made the 53. He's going to go on IR, and then the roster size will shrink, and so you're going to have to sign someone else to his spot. For people who don't know, the GM side of NFL football is very difficult and confusing. So props to all the GMs. But yeah, no surprises. One of the best offensive lines in football, the best offensive line in football. Nothing out of the normal there. Speaking of out of the normal, here we are at defensive line. So first and foremost, huge congratulations to Malik McDowell. Former pick, I believe, 2nd-round pick in 2017 of the Seattle Seahawks. Went to jail. When he was in jail, he told his cellmates, people around him, that when he got out, he was gonna go back to football and he was gonna play football. And they told him he was crazy, that he wasn't gonna play football again. So congrats to him. Amazing comeback story. Not only is he playing football, he's not on the practice squad. He made a 53-man roster with now granted, it's not necessarily a competitive interior defensive line group, but he beat out players like Porter Gustin, who's established in Cleveland, Sheldon Day, who had a good preseason, Joe Jackson, who had a good preseason. He beat people out, and he 100% earned his roster spot, and that's awesome for him. But anyways, to the weird part of the defensive line. I'm going to read you all the defensive ends that are on the 53-man roster. So if we went into a game today the defensive ends we would have are Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, Dak McKinley. That's it. 3 defensive ends. I'm interested in what they're doing. I would have figured you would have had more defensive ends, actually, because Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney can play inside. So you need 2 other defensive ends. Now, Malik Jackson in his past has showed he could play end. Now, obviously, he's not like a crazy pass rusher. He would be more of a run-stopping end. And actually, same thing with Malik McDowell. He can play some defensive end as well for certain blitz packages or certain contain schemes, should I say. For certain stunts, I should say. Stunts is like a defensive line. So, like, sometimes you see a defensive end move inside and try to rush through the A gap in between the center and the guard. That's what a stunt is. So, yeah, now hopefully... I'll talk about the practice squad in just 1 second. But so that's the D-line group on the active roster. Linebacker 7, but like I said, Jacob Phillips is probably going to head to IR. So you're looking at Anthony Walker Jr., Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Mac Wilson, Sione Takitaki, Jacob Phillips, Malcolm Smith, and Tony Fields. We haven't seen Tony Fields play at all. I'm surprised he actually made the roster. I figured he would have been someone they cut and try to bring back on the practice squad. But, that just shows what I know. So once Jacob Phillips moves to IR, they'll probably leave it at that 6. Maybe they'll bring in a 7th. But again, no surprises. Nothing out of the normal. Safeties, they have 4. John Johnson, obviously. Ronnie Harrison, obviously. Grant Delpit, obviously. And then they drafted Richard LeCounte, who played really well in the preseason. I guess you could say it's surprising they chose LeCounte over Sheldrick. Sheldrick went to the Jets. Obviously, Sheldrick, congrats. He got signed to the 53, not even a practice squad. So hopefully Sheldrick has a great career with the Jets. I'm sorry that you're going to the Jets, but I think you'll have success there. Nothing out of the normal. That's not surprising. And then corner, Denzel, Greg Newsome, Troy Hill, Greedy Williams, MJ Stewart, AJ Green. Again, nothing surprising there. Greg and Denzel are obviously going to be your outside starters. Troy Hill's starting in the slot. Greedy Williams is great depth. MJ Stewart is a really good slot option, and it can also play safety. And then AJ Green is really good depth. And then special teamers, Chase McLaughlin's your kicker. Jamie Gillen's your partner. Charlie Hewlett is your long snapper. And then, so the following players, they have Greg Senant and Drew Forbes on injury reserved, and the suspended reserve list, Davion Davis. Now, obviously, you're thinking, well, that's kind of tough because they don't have another defensive end. Well, the practice squad exists, and today there's some practice. So right now the Browns have 11 of their 16 practice squad spots filled, actually. So players they brought back through the practice squad. That John Kelly, the example I had earlier, they brought John Kelly back, cleared the waiver wire. They brought fullback Johnny Stanton back, which is actually really good because he can play running back and tight end as well. They brought back wide receivers Jamarcus Bradley and JoJo Natson, tight end Jordan Franks. They brought back 2 defensive ends in Porter Gustin and Curtis Weaver. They brought back Sheldon Day, who's a defensive tackle. They brought back linebackers Elijah Lee and Javonte Moffitt. So there's a couple other players left in free agency. Don't see them coming back with anyone. And then someone they signed who wasn't on the team at any point, Nick Mullins, quarterback. I believe he was on Philly. He was cut the other day. Obviously from 49ers, so they just brought him in. He ran the Shanahan system, or the Gary Kubiak system, I should say. Ran the Kubiak system, so he knows it. Good practice squad guy. All in all, the Browns, I really like where their roster's at right now. I like their 53, but of course, it's always fluid. And to all the players who were cut, I'm going to list them all out because I can't. It's weird, but I do care about each and every one of them. Kyle Lauletta, John Kelly, Johnny Stanton, Kadarrell Hodge, JoJo Natson, Jamarcus Bradley, Jordan Franks, Kyle Markaway, Colby Gossett, Javon Patterson, Porter Gustin, Joe Jackson, Sheldon Day, Cameron Malavo, Curtis Weaver, Marvin Wilson, Elijah Lee, DeGary Scales, Willie Harvey Jr., Sheldrick Redwine, Elijah Benton, Javonte Moffitt, Brian Allen, Manny Rugba. Ragumba, sorry. Manny Ragumba. Hoping the best for all of you guys. Like no one's going to hear this, but I am. I'm hoping the best for all you guys. Certain players like Kadariel and Kadariel and Sheldrick have already been picked up. Other guys are waiting to be picked up, but I'm hoping the best for you guys. I'm hoping you guys can, play some fun football. Hopefully you can make some money. Make sure your family's all set. I'm praying for the best for you guys. And yeah, that's where the Browns are at right now. I think the Browns were in the best roster problem to have. You don't want roster problems in the NFL. There's only one you're okay with, and that's having too much talent. There's players who were just waiting for the Browns, or teams who are waiting for the Browns to cut Kadariel Hodge and Sheldrick Redwine, waiting for these players to become available, which is a place the Browns were in a couple years back, like just waiting for someone to be cut on the roster trim down day, because that team has way too many good players. They're not going to be able to keep everyone. And the Browns, honestly, I think did a pretty good job of keeping as much talent as they can. There's a couple of things. I don't agree with Davion Davis over Kadariel Hodge, but that was purely a cap move. Kadariel would have been a free agent at the end of the year anyways. Probably wouldn't have kept him past this year, so it's a difficult move, but, GMs have to make the difficult moves for the long-term success of the team. Yeah, I like where the Browns are at. Week 1, September 12th, 4:05 p.m. Central Time, Kansas City, 3:05 p.m. Central Time or 3:25 Central Time. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to watch the Chiefs lose. Kind of a breaking news thing. Chief safety Trey Mattew, it's not necessarily breaking, but it's pretty recent. Trey Mattew tested positive for COVID today. So basically what that means, there's 11 days till kickoff. I believe the rule is 10 days unless he gets 2 negative tests. So he will be technically available on game day. I personally want him to play because I don't want... What would suck is if the Browns win and they're like, yeah, but Trey Mattew wasn't playing, so how good are the Browns really? Like, no one cares. I want Trey Mattew to play. If we beat the Chiefs, I want to beat the Chiefs at their best. So, hopefully of course, prayers up to Tyron. Hopefully he beats this thing fast. Hopefully it's just a false positive, actually. If it was a false positive, that would be awesome. And then he can just get back in the building in the next couple days. So we're hoping, here at the Preston Sports Podcast, we're hoping for the best for Tyron. It's sucks to get it right now, and if it is positive, then he's going to miss practice pretty much up until game day, which is really unfortunate. Even if he misses practice in person, let's just hope that he gets good virtual work in. Just because he's not on the field doesn't mean he can't still get mental reps in at least, and hopefully it doesn't knock him out for the entire season. We've seen it with Cam Newton and Myles Garrett, where it just knocks them out, and they're just kind of screwed over for the season, so hopefully that doesn't happen to him. Hopefully he has a great year. And, that's just about everything. Thank you guys for listening. I'll be back on Friday with a Fix 'em Up Friday. I'm probably going to do the Patriots since they cut Cam Newton, because that's just crazy. But, yeah, I'll talk to you guys on Friday. Peace out.